You know, I should have expected this. I mean, I'm the idiot because George R. R. Martin he does this. Yeah, Season 4, Game of Thrones, Episode 8, The Mountain and the Vipers aired tonight, and it was a fantastic episode as usual. And let's start with the beginning of the episode, because at the beginning of this episode you get to see the wildlings. They raid the place where Gilly was staying at. It's like, oh great, Sam's an idiot. But it turns out that Jon Snow's wildling, what was her name? I don't even remember, because they haven't done anything with her this season, so it's kind of hard to keep up with all these names. But yeah, she lets Gilly live, and then Sam's like, oh, I'm a fool, I let her die, and it turns out... So next week, they showed the preview for what's going to happen at the Wall. There's going to be a big battle between the Wildlings and the Night's Watch, and there's 102 guys at the Night's Watch wall, and there's 100,000 Wildlings coming. I don't smell many good things going for them next week, so maybe there'll be a twist and something good actually happens. Maybe the dragons fly in and just burn everyone. You never know. They gotta counteract the bad they did this week with something. There's no way everyone at the Wall is gonna die. And over in Meereen, let's just talk about that and get that out of the way. You get to see Grey Worm looking at Missandei, and I guess they're gonna get together at some point. I don't know. I don't really care that much about that. I'm not gonna go over that. Daenerys, however, not Daenerys, Sir Barristan finds out that Jorah was spying on Daenerys way back in Season 1, and apparently that's relevant now because he's not doing it anymore, but he gets that paper somehow. It was from Tywin, but still, you get to see that, and now they throw Jorah out. I mean, couldn't he have just said that, hey, I did that way back then. I stopped doing that a long time ago. I am loyal to you. I mean, I guess there would still be some sort of hesitancy on Daenerys' part even if he said that, but still, I mean, they just kind of threw him out and he was like, oh, okay, goodbye, forever. I don't know, I mean, I felt bad for him because he really does creepily love Daenerys. At the same time, he still is loyal to her, so that's going to be an odd thing moving forward. I assume that we're not going to see him for a while because, I mean, we're not just going to see the one-man Jorah show, I assume. And one really great part about this episode was the thing they did with Theon or Reek and sending him into where the Ironborn were, and that was interesting, because you get, like, Alfie Allen has been doing such a great job this season as playing Reek, and you could see him through the acting. He is trying so hard to be Theon Greyjoy, but he is just so broken down that he can't even pretend to be Theon Greyjoy anymore because he's just so mentally destroyed. And the guy who was there, even though he's kind of dying, sees through it, but then he gets killed, so they let the Boltons inside, and the Boltons killed him, and I like that shot, how it went from the guy saying, okay, we're gonna be safe, right? And then it just goes straight to him being flayed by the Boltons. Like, oh, yeah, I expected that. And we also get to see Roose Bolton has now made Ramsay Snow Ramsay Bolton, which I guess means that if and when Roose Bolton dies, that Ramsay will now inherit the entire North because he is now the true-born son of Roose Bolton. So that was interesting. I mean, that's actually kind of scary. If Ramsay ever got power, like complete power over the North, I would not want to live anywhere near that place because he's insane. In fact, I wouldn't put it past him to just go ahead and try and kill Roose Bolton so he could get that power. You never know. And they had I guess the trial of Littlefinger too, because they have him there. He's saying, of course I didn't kill Lysa. I didn't push her out of the window last week or anything like that. And so they bring Sansa, and what I loved about the scene was you could see how much being in King's Landing is gonna start paying off for Sansa, because she's seen all the lying and deceit that goes on there, so now she's so used to it, and she can do it so well in that whole scene. Her telling that whole story that she made up in her head and doing the crying, it was just so perfect, and you could see in Littlefinger's face, like halfway through her confession, that he's like, oh my god, she's actually helping me, and it was just so awesome. It was really cool to watch. And I'm interested to see this dynamic moving forward now that Sansa is kind of on Littlefinger's side. Not necessarily because he's the best person she could be with, but because she knows he'll protect her over just random people. And the Hound finally made it to the Vale, and Lysa's dead, so Arya breaks out into laughter. That was actually a little bit odd to me, but whatever. I guess he'll just leave her there now? I don't know. We'll see next week, I assume. And so, let's get to the thing that happened at the end of this episode. I mean, Right before that scene, you have Tyrion talking to Jaime about their cousin who got knocked on the head as a child and all he did was crush beetles. And I don't know the meaning behind that story. I really haven't been able to figure out anything behind it, so if you want to comment below and tell me what that actually was about, please do so, because I really want to know. The only thing I could actually come up with after seeing the entire episode was maybe it was because that guy, all he wanted to do was crush beetles and then he got killed. Maybe it was like all Oberyn wanted to do was get the confession out of the mountain and then he died. I don't know. That's the only thing I could come up with. So maybe they were just kind of foreshadowing it right before it happened. Let's get to that scene, because before the fight actually started, it was some nice dialogue and Oberyn was like, I'm gonna kill that. And I was like, yeah, he's gonna kill that. And... And during the scene, it was so intense, and he was just screaming out, you raped her, you murdered her, you killed her children. It was just so intense, and he was going through it, and he got knocked over a few times, and I was worried. And then he started getting the upper hand on the mountain, he cut him in the leg, and through the chest, he had him. He had the mountain, and he needed that confession, and... It was so brutal. The crush, the one punch, and you see all that blood coming out of his face. I was like, oh no, this isn't happening, is it? And then it did, and the mountain just crushes his face, and the screams during the scene, it was so brutal. I could barely even imagine it right now, and whatever. And the mountain, it seemed to me at least, like he fell over and died too. So I'm not sure why they're saying, oh, Tyrion, you're guilty, because it seems like both competitors died. Correct me if I'm wrong. Why do all of the best characters have to die? I mean, I get it. It's to show the realism that anybody can die in this world, but it just seems like George R.R. Martin kills the best characters just for the shock value of it. Not because it makes complete sense. And it actually does kind of make sense in the progression of the plot that Oberyn might die, but he had him there, and I don't think that Oberyn, being the opportunist he is, would just keep going, like, oh, give me a confession. It's just, he knew that the mountain did it. He could just killed him. I don't get it. Hopefully the next week the battle at the wall is awesome. I'm sure it will be, and I hope that Jon Snow doesn't die. If Jon Snow dies next week, I might just stop. Ranting aside, that scene with Oberyn in the mountain was still a fantastic scene. It was one of the best scenes ever on this whole show, and the fight was awesome. It was intense, no matter how I feel about the outcome. I enjoyed the entire episode overall. This is one of my favorite episodes of the whole season so far. I'm gonna give this episode an A+. Yeah, I can't wait for next week, and we've only got 2 episodes left, and that's sad. So what do you guys think of this episode of Game of Thrones? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? If you haven't read the books, I'm sorry to exclude the book readers, but how do you feel about what just happened? I mean, just write your comments down there and tell me what you think, and if you like this video, hit that subscribe button down there, because if you don't, someone's gonna crush my head. It's probably gonna happen anyway, it doesn't matter.